What's up, y'all? This is Brian, and today I'm going to show you how to create a virtual machine using Oracle's VirtualBox. If asked to give a simple definition of a virtual machine, I would say that it's an emulation of a physical computer that's sort of self-contained, kind of like a file. You can copy it, you can delete it, you can reset it to a snapshot, you can clone it, you can move it from one machine to another. The possibilities are as endless as they are with any other sort of file that is contained on a computer. Um, the first thing that you're going to need is a hypervisor. In our case today, I'm going to use a Type 2 hypervisor, Oracle's VirtualBox. By Type 2, I mean that I am running Windows as my operating system that will interact directly with my hardware. And on top of my operating system Windows, I'm going to run VirtualBox that communicates with my hardware through the operating system. And then because of VirtualBox, I'll be able to create the container to put another operating system and run it on top of the Windows machine that I have. The other type of hypervisor that you're going to find is going to be a Type 1 hypervisor that is installed directly onto the hardware. But that's another video, and let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to need a disk image file. Today I'm going to be using Windows 10 Pro. Um, the one thing that you want to be careful with is that for Windows you're going to need a license per machine, as if it were a physical computer. With Linux and the open source guys, you're not going to need the physical license, obviously, because it's open source. And for Apple, you'll only be able to make an Apple OS machine if you have Apple hardware or if you're a little creative. All right, first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the VirtualBox Machine Manager and we're going to hit the new key. As I said, this is going to be a Windows 10 machine, so I'm going to call it Win 10. It's going to recognize that it's Windows 10. I am going to be using the 64-bit, but you have several options here. That's just to give you an idea of what machines that you could possibly make. You also have the different vendors here. All right, you need to be aware of um, the specs that you're going to need on your computer to be able to actually run the virtual machine. And for some, you're going to need to go into the UEFI and um, set up some BIOS settings. To do this, basically, you need to just enable virtualization with Intel chips. Okay, after this, we're going to set up the memory. This is going to be the RAM. And what you have to consider is it's going to allot a certain amount of your physical RAM um, for the virtual machine. The suggested is 2 gigabytes of RAM, and this is also what is suggested on the Windows site. I'm going to up it to 4 gigabytes just to be on the safe side to make things run a little snappier. We're going to create a hard disk. Um, we're going to create a virtual hard disk now. The recommended size is 50 gigabytes. I'm going to probably knock that down a bit. We're going to create a VirtualBox disk image. Some of these other settings are so that your virtual machine can be imported into other hypervisor software like VMware, for instance. So VirtualBox disk image is the default setting for VirtualBox. We're going to pick dynamically allocated, which means that the the file size of your VirtualBox will expand as you need it up to the size that you pick. If you picked a fixed size, that means that on your physical hard drive or the file size of your virtual machine is going to take up the amount of space that you set. So if you set it to a 50 gigabyte hard drive, as was suggested here, with a fixed size disk file, you're going to have a 50 gigabyte file, from the start. The uh, the upside to having a fixed size file is that things tend to operate a little bit faster, being that it's already fixed. Dynamically allocated is the way for us to go right now because we are, being frugal with our disk space. Okay, this is the name. You can change the default path with these settings. I'm going to leave it as it is, and here's what it's going to look like on your machine. I'm going to knock this down to 25. Windows, you only need 25 gig or a 20 gigabyte hard drive, so I'm just going to bump it up a little bit just for the sake of this particular video. All right, now we've got our Win 10 machine configured. Basically, I'm going to start it up, and we're going to need to show the file that we're going to use. We're going to use that disk image that we had for Windows 10 Pro. There it is. We're going to pop that in there, and this is basically, I want you to think about this as if this were a file that's on a USB drive that's in a physical computer, only we're not dealing with the physical computer here. All right, we're going to start this up, and it's going to install Windows as if it were on a physical machine. You'll go through all of the same things that you would go through when installing Windows. It's going to configure it just exactly the same way. I'm not going to use a product key here. We will be using Windows 10 Pro. I'm going to agree to the license terms. And we're going to go through the custom install. This is our drive 0, as it would be on a regular Windows system. This is where the operating system will install. This is going to be our boot drive. And now we're just installing. This process shouldn't take very long. It's going to depend here on the speed of your processor. And so what you're going to do, you're going to wait for the full install to take place, and then you will have your virtual machine. It will act just like any other computer that's just had an operating system installed.
Hi there, I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help. A little sign in here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you plan to do. You can use your voice or the keyboard along.
And that's probably the second best thing about making a virtual machine. You can mute Cortana. And then you can reset the machine and mute her over and over again. All right, y'all, that's been the video. Look for more to come soon. And until the next one, take care.